I walked into the house with mulch still in my boots and the sunburn still stinging my neck. It was my birthday. I was sweaty, smelled like the back of my truck, and honestly, I was hoping for something simple. Maybe a burger off the grill, a card from my kid, even a cheap cake. Instead, Claire stood in the kitchen already dressed like she was heading to court. Tight black dress, hair up, lips done. "You need to shower and change," she said. Not even a hello. "Something less dusty. We're going to dinner." I blinked. "What? It's my birthday?" She gave me that look. Eyebrows raised like I'd just farted in church. "It's that dinner with Dad's partners. I told you last week." Right, she had. I forgot. But it was my damn birthday. "You can't wear that flannel," she added. "And don't talk about your business tonight. Let Dad do the talking. Before we go further, quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I should have walked back out right then. Should have taken my truck and grabbed tacos somewhere alone. But I didn't. I changed into a button-down. She picked out 2 Christmases ago that still had the tag on it. In the truck, she kept the list of rules coming. Don't talk too much, just smile, and no jokes. They don't really get landscaper humor. Landscaper humor, I said. Nice. "I'm just trying to help you not look like an idiot," she snapped, adjusting her lipstick in the visor mirror. "These are real people. They build businesses. They don't dig holes for a living." I gripped the steering wheel a little tighter. She didn't even try to say it soft, just said it like a fact. I figured maybe after dinner there'd be something. A surprise dessert. A little family thing back at the house. Something from our daughter. Something. But when we pulled into that downtown steakhouse and the valet opened the door like I didn't belong there, it hit me. This wasn't my night. This was hers. We walked through the lobby into some private room with low lights and crystal glasses. And right then, standing there in stiff jeans and boots I'd wiped down with a rag, I knew this wasn't a birthday dinner. It was a business show and tell, and I was the prop. Claire leaned in, whispering, "Try not to be weird, okay?" Then smiled wide like we were just some happy couple. I pushed open the door and followed her in. The room went quiet when we stepped in, but not in a welcoming way. 17 of them. Easy, maybe more, already seated around a long table, all teeth and cologne and expensive wristwatches. The kind of crowd that wore suits to dinner and laughed like they owned the air. Nobody stood. One guy barely glanced up from his whiskey to nod. Her dad was at the head, already holding court like he was running a board meeting. Claire walked in like she belonged to all of it. I followed, still smelling faintly like mulch, praying the damp in my armpits wouldn't bleed through the shirt. Her heels clicked across the marble while mine thudded. I might as well have been dragging a rake behind me. Her dad stood halfway. "There he is," he said, loud enough to get a chuckle. "The man with the magic mower." Everyone laughed. I forced a smile, sat where she pointed. Didn't even get a menu before the waiter poured me something amber in a glass so thin I thought it'd snap between my fingers. She leaned in and whispered, "Don't drink too fast. These aren't your bar buddies." Then came the corrections, one after another. "Hold the menu higher. Don't say medium well. It's embarrassing. Let the waiter finish his sentence." I kept my mouth shut, kept nodding, just kept thinking maybe the whole point of this night was some setup before a surprise, some distraction. Claire loved drama. Maybe that was all this was. But halfway through the appetizers, her dad raised his glass again. "Gotta hand it to Claire," he said, grinning like a jackass. Most women wouldn't be caught dead dragging a blue-collar husband into a place like this. But look at him, clean buttoned down and everything, playing dress-up for steak. Laughter, real laughter. The whole table cracked up. My ears got hot. Claire laughed too, head tilted back, hand over her mouth, like he'd just told the best joke of the night. I stared down at the table, jaw tight, said nothing. Just took a sip of the whiskey and focused on chewing. Then, like an idiot, I made the mistake of speaking. Steaks under-seasoned, quiet, just a comment. Didn't even say it loud. Claire's head snapped toward me like I'd slapped the waiter. She leaned in, gripping her wine glass like she wanted to throw it. "You're embarrassing me," she hissed. "Shut up and eat." My stomach turned. I looked around the table. No one looked at me. No one cared. I wasn't even there to them. I was just Claire's +1. Some joke they didn't mind having around if it meant more wine and another person to laugh at. Then, out of nowhere, she stood up. Chair scraped hard against the floor. Loud. She didn't even wait for silence. A man like him should be grateful I even brought him here. And just like that, she was gone. Heels clicking fast, dress swaying, full exit. No goodbye, no pause. Just rage and shame wrapped in lipstick. Nobody followed, not even her dad. Silence fell for maybe 3 seconds. Then the guy closest to me chuckled, flagged the waiter, and said, "Let's get another bottle going." Like nothing happened. The server came over quietly, set the check down in front of me. I didn't even want to look, but I did. $2,318. Nobody moved. Not a single hand reached for a wallet. These were the kind of men who fought over lunch tabs when it was their idea. But now, they just sat back and waited for the idiot in flannel to pay up. I didn't say a word, just pulled out my card, handed it over, and waited. The receipt came. I signed it. Then I stood up, slow and steady, and walked out the back exit. Didn't say goodbye, didn't look at anyone. Out in the dark, the air hit colder. I slid into my truck, shut the door, and stared at myself in the rearview mirror. I looked like a man who'd just been slapped in the face and paid $2,000 for the privilege. My knuckles tapped the steering wheel. Once, twice. I took a breath, started the engine, and drove straight into the night. I pulled into the driveway just before midnight and cut the engine. Sat there in silence. Claire's car was gone. House was dark. I figured she ran to her dad's or maybe a hotel. Didn't care. I walked in, kicked off my boots, and went straight to bed without touching the light switch. Next morning, my phone looked like it had been dropped into a volcano. 18 missed calls, then 22, a dozen texts. Claire, call me now. Claire, what the hell is wrong with you? Claire, you made a scene. Claire, Dad is furious. I didn't respond, just stared at the screen while making coffee. The silence after that was almost worse. She stopped calling by the afternoon. I guess she thought ignoring me would flip the power back in her favor. A week passed. She didn't come home. I didn't ask. Every time I saw her dad's company pop up on Facebook, new HVAC deal, charity event, another write-up in some business journal, I felt my jaw lock tighter. That anger wasn't a flash anymore. It was heat in my chest, day and night. One night, I sat at the kitchen table with a cold beer and the old busted-up laptop I used to do the books for my landscaping jobs. Took me a minute to remember the password. I opened the folder Claire used to manage. Business accounts, credit cards, tax forms. She always told me not to worry about it. "I've got it handled," she'd say. And like a fool, I believed her. But as I started cross-referencing the files, things didn't add up. There were credit cards in my name I never applied for. Joint expenses billed to her consulting business that I'd never even heard mentioned in a tax filing. Trips, jewelry, restaurant bills from cities I'd never set foot in. Charlotte, Orlando, Savannah. Most of them tagged under vendor events or corporate entertainment. Every charge was clean on paper, but none of it led back to anything real. Then I remembered something her old friend Liz said at a barbecue a couple years back. She had a few drinks in her and leaned over, laughing a little too loud. Claire's always had a taste for things that weren't hers. Back then, I brushed it off. Now, it echoed. I dug deeper. And what I found next made my hands shake. Our daughter's college fund, the one we started when she was 8, was empty, zeroed out. The last withdrawal, a $5,000 charge to a boutique hotel in Savannah, billed under Strategic Leadership Seminar. I sat back in the chair, heart pounding. This wasn't neglect. This wasn't miscommunication. This was theft. And not just from me. I looked around the kitchen, the cabinet she picked out, the backsplash she insisted on, all of it funded by a man she had no respect for. That was the night everything shifted. Up until then, I'd been heartbroken, wrecked, still telling myself maybe things could be fixed. But once I saw our daughter's future drained to pay for Claire's weekend getaway, that was when I stopped feeling sorry. That was when I started getting serious. I shut the laptop, stood up, and pulled my phone out to make a call. I called Rob that same night. We hadn't talked in years. Used to mow lawns together back in high school. Him with the push mower, me with the weed whacker. He was the quiet type, always in his own head, but sharp. Guy could fix any computer with a paperclip and a cup of coffee. He picked up on the second ring. "Yeah?" he said. "It's me," I said. "You still do IT stuff for that law firm in Raleigh?" "Yeah, why?" "I need a favor, big one." I didn't explain over the phone, just told him I'd bring something by the next day. I drove over with the laptop in a duffel bag and a six-pack of Miller Lite. We sat in his garage with the door half open, the glow from a single bulb overhead. I told him everything, start to finish. Claire, the steakhouse, the credit cards, the college fund. He didn't flinch. I need to know where it all goes, I said. Who's connected? What I'm really looking at. He nodded once. Didn't ask dumb questions. Just cracked a beer and got to work. 2 days later, he emailed me a folder. No subject line. Just the files. It was bad. Claire wasn't just blowing money. She was moving it. Routing charges through her dad's HVAC company. Listing me as a contractor for grounds maintenance. Then using the returns to pump money into her consulting firm, which didn't actually exist. Rob called me after I opened the files. They're cooking the books, he said. Hard. You're a ghost employee. Fake invoices, fake time logs, all filed under your name. You're sure? I checked 3 different quarters, he said. Claire's using you as a tax write-off. If the IRS checks, they don't go after the business first. They go after the contractor who billed them. That hit like a shovel to the face. All this time, I thought she just didn't respect me. Turned out she'd weaponized me, paper trail and all. I hung up and stared at the wall for a solid 5 minutes. Then I grabbed the files and made one more call. His name was Terry. He wasn't one of those billboard lawyers with fake smiles and catchphrases. Just a guy in his 50s with a wrinkled tan suit and a tie that never quite reached his belt buckle. Office smelled like dust and coffee, but he looked me dead in the eye like he gave a damn. I handed him the folder. He flipped through it fast, didn't even blink. They're sloppy, he said. Entitled people always are. What do? We move quiet, he said, setting the papers down. She flips this first. She'll paint you as the bitter husband. We can't let her control the story. He leaned back in his chair. You ready to ruin her day? I didn't blink. Yeah, I said. Let's get started. Terry didn't waste time after I told him I was ready. He leaned forward, tapped the folder once, and said, She'll try to bait you. Don't bite. Let her talk. People like her always talk too much. So, when Claire texted me the next morning, dinner at Dad's golf club tonight. Formal event, be presentable. I forwarded it to Terry. He called me right away. Go, he said. Play dumb. Act like you don't know a thing. So, I did exactly that. I showed up in my cleanest boots, a new shirt that still smelled like the store rack, and jeans without a single grass stain. No tie. She hated when I skipped a tie. Perfect. The golf club was the kind of place where the driveway curved forever, and the grass looked fake. I'd trimmed hedges there a couple times years back, sweating while guys wearing loafers smacked golf balls like it meant something. Walking through the front doors now felt like walking into enemy territory. Claire was already inside near the bar, laughing with a group of people dressed like they'd just stepped out of a bank commercial. When she saw me, her smile tightened. You could have at least worn slacks, she said under her breath. You said presentable, I told her. This is me being presentable. She sighed like she carried the weight of the entire world, and I was the heaviest piece of it. Then she linked her arm through mine with that pinched little smile she used when she wanted to look like the doting wife. We took our seats at a round table near the front. Her dad stood at the podium shaking hands and pretending he invented air conditioning. Everyone looked polished. Everyone looked important. Claire looked like the version of herself she always performed. Shoulders back, eyes sharp, smile measured. I kept my face blank, kept smiling like a man too dumb to know he'd been lied to for years. Terry was outside in the parking lot, waiting with an investigator who owed him a favor. The files were ready. My phone, tucked in my shirt pocket, had the recording of Claire mocking the entire setup from a call she didn't know I'd saved. All I had to do was sit there and wait. Halfway through dinner, after her second glass of wine, she leaned closer. I smelled the Cabernet on her breath. You know, she said, dragging her finger along the rim of her glass. It's cute how you think you could ever survive without us. Us? I said. She laughed, loud enough for the couple next to us to glance over. Don't be stupid, she said. You couldn't handle real life without my family propping you up. That was her mistake, thinking I was still the man who sat at that steakhouse table swallowing humiliation like bread. I pushed my chair back, stood up slow, and raised my glass. Everybody, I said, loud enough to cut through the chatter. I want to make a toast. Heads turned, forks paused. Claire froze, her smile glued in place. To fake invoices, I said. To wire fraud. And to people finally getting what's coming, the whole room shifted, whispering, eyes narrowing. Her dad's mouth hung open like I'd spoken in another language. Claire went pale. "Sit down," she hissed. "You're making a fool of yourself." "No," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Not tonight." My phone buzzed. One quick vibration. Terry's signal. He was outside handing over the files. The investigator would walk the packet straight into the right hands. Every forged invoice, every fake contractor log, every shady transfer Claire thought no one would ever see. Claire's voice broke. "What did you do?" I set my empty glass on the table, leaned in close so only she could hear me. "I stopped letting you use me." She grabbed my arm. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." 2 days later, the IRS knocked on their office doors. 3 days after that, her dad's house was raided. News trucks lined the street like vultures. Claire tried to tell anyone who'd listen that she had no idea what was going on, but the paperwork said otherwise. I watched it unfold from a distance, saying nothing, doing nothing, just letting the truth do what it always does. And when the headlines hit, I was already packing my truck. I shut the tailgate hard, then turned the key in the ignition and drove. I'd been crashing at my buddy Mike's place for a few weeks by then. His spare room, no questions asked. Mattress on the floor, toolbox for a nightstand, peace and quiet in exchange for mowing his yard and keeping the fridge stocked. Then one night, maybe a week after the IRS raid, the front door damn near shook off the hinges. Bang, bang, bang. Mike looked up from the game on TV. "You expecting someone?" "Nope." I stood up, already knowing who it was. When I opened the main door, she was right there. Claire, wild-eyed, hair a mess. Mascara streaked down both cheeks like she'd walked through a storm. She shoved her hand against the screen door. "Open it, now!" I didn't. "What did you do to me?" she screamed, voice cracked and raw. "You think this is justice? You think you won?" Her voice bounced off the siding and spilled into the street. I could see Mike's neighbor across the way peeking through his blinds. I didn't say a word, just walked to the hall closet, grabbed the manila envelope from the shelf, came back, and unlatched the screen. She lunged forward like she was about to slap me or collapse. Hard to tell which. I handed her the envelope before she could do either. "The hell is this?" "Forensic report," I said. "Tells the whole story. Every cent. Every lie." She flipped through the first couple pages, hands trembling. "You vindictive bastard. You destroyed me." "No," I said. "You destroyed yourself. I just turned the lights on." Tears welled up again. "I built everything. I made connections. I put in the work. You stole from your kid's college fund to pay for a hotel suite in Savannah." I snapped. "Spare me the martyr speech." She looked like I'd punched her, but I wasn't done pretending she was the victim. "You made me a tax write-off, Claire," I said, stepping closer. "You didn't ruin a marriage. You turned it into a scam. And now you're mad it blew up in your face." She shook her head, clutching the envelope like it burned. "You'll regret this. You think they'll protect you when the headlines move on? You're nothing without me." I stared straight at her, calm, still. "I was nothing because of you." She didn't have a comeback, just stood there, breathing heavy, shoulders shaking like she couldn't decide whether to fight or fall. Finally, she turned, walked back down the porch steps, heels clacking against the concrete like they were still supposed to scare someone. She got in her car, slammed the door, and tore off down the road. Mike came around the corner, holding a beer. "Well," he said, "that looked intense." I walked back inside without a word, tossed the deadbolt, and pulled the curtains shut. A week after Claire showed up screaming on Mike's porch, I got the call I'd been waiting on. My lawyer, Terry, short and sweet like always. "You're cleared," he said. "IRS dropped everything. They know you didn't touch a dime." I didn't say much, just let the words sink in. 6 weeks total. That's how long it took for everything to flip. Her dad's company took the brunt. False filings, wire fraud, payroll manipulation. Claire's name wasn't scrubbed out of anything. Her accounts froze so fast she couldn't even buy gas. Credit tanked. Investigators circled her like vultures. But me? I walked out clean. The truth held. For once. Mike offered to let me stay longer, but I told him I needed to get out. Really out. So I packed up my tools, my truck, and a duffel bag of clothes and headed for Tennessee. Didn't know exactly where I was going, just knew I wasn't staying. 2 weeks later, I signed a lease on a 1-bedroom house outside Murfreesboro. Little place, brick front, creaky porch steps, yard just big enough to keep me busy on Sundays. I linked up with two buddies, Ty and Ray, guys I knew from way back. They were already doing odd jobs, mostly lawn care and cleanup. I pitched the idea of going official. Call it second cut, I said. Clean lines, no shortcuts, real work. They were in. We registered the LLC the next day and built the website ourselves. Cheap logo, but it got the job done. Word spread fast. People around here still care about work done right. First month, we made just enough to keep the lights on. Month 2, we broke even. By month 3, we had a wait list. I stopped looking over my shoulder, stopped wondering when the next blow would come. Most nights I fall asleep before 10. No yelling, no cold shoulders, no tight-chested dread that someone's using my name for their gain. Last week, my daughter called. Her voice always hits different, like an anchor I didn't know I was missing until she speaks. She said, "Dad, you always said dignity don't pay bills, but you kept yours. I'm proud of you." I couldn't answer right away. Just stared out at the lawn, hand over my mouth, nodding into the phone like she could see me. That meant more than any steak dinner ever did, more than any Rolex, more than every birthday she forgot or twisted into something else. I told her, "I'll send you the new address. Come visit when you can." "I will," she said. "And Dad, screw the bills. You're still rich where it counts." We hung up, and I just sat there for a while, listening to the cicadas and watching the porch light catch the edge of my truck. Then I stood up, grabbed the rake leaning against the railing, and got back to work on the front yard. 1 year later, I was sitting on the tailgate of my truck, boots dusty, coffee in hand, watching Ty and Ray wrap up a backyard cleanup over on Sweetbriar Lane. Big place, clean job, client loved it. The air was still warm even though it was late October. That time of day where the sun's low and everything feels softer, not quieter, just slower, more honest. My phone buzzed on the toolbox next to me. Unknown number. I answered anyway. "Mr. Rollins," the voice said. Young guy. "You're the one from the Mitchell fraud case, right?" I didn't answer. "I'm with Channel 5, he went on. "Local piece about whistleblowers. Your name came up." I hung up. Not my story anymore. Let them chase headlines. Let Claire's old world burn in print and courtrooms. I wasn't part of that circus now. I gave them their shot. They missed. I moved on. Most mornings I'm out by 6. Load the truck, coffee in the cup holder, 2 sausage biscuits in the bag, one for me, one for whoever's late. We work until the sun's high, then pack it up. I fish a couple times a week, eat real food, sleep through the night. No alarms, no screaming, no waiting for a shoe to drop. I make enough to cover what I need and a little extra. The crew's solid. Our name's getting around. Second cut means something now. Every so often, I'll be walking a property line, measuring a hedge or checking the grading, and I'll think back to that night at the steakhouse, her voice sharp and smug. A man like him should be grateful I even brought him here. That memory used to sting. Now, it just floats. She thought she was doing me a favor. Truth is, the only favor she ever did was walking out. I should have thanked her, because when she left, she made room for every part of me that I buried to keep her proud. The part that worked hard and didn't apologize for it. The part that raised a daughter right and didn't need a tie to prove worth. The part that knew dignity doesn't make you rich, but it keeps you clean. And that night, when she called me a disgrace, yeah, I remember it clear as day. I smile every time it comes up. Because the real disgrace wasn't her words. It was how damn long I let her convince me she was right. But I walked away clean, hands steady, name cleared, daughter proud. And that's more than she's got. It's more than most people ever get. And that's all I need. I took one last sip of coffee, hopped down from the truck bed, and got back to work.